Vio here. We're doing another video on the Satellaknights. I haven't made a video in a while. My computer literally died at the exact same time as work got really busy, and so I had not had time to upload videos and do stuff. So we found a bunch of times and a bunch of ways to get a bunch of videos up, so be expecting a bunch really soon. Sorry about that. Anyways, the Satellaknights keep getting cards announced, and it's really, the deck is just, it's proving to be a really good deck. And I'm going to elaborate. I'm not going to do what I did last time and explain every single card in the set, but instead, I'm going to explain what the deck is going to be able to do now. Not only with some of the cards that it has now. Like one card, they have pretty much a card that says, discard a card, draw a card. They have their own version of Dark World Dealings, which does not only help yourself, but it makes it so your opponent doesn't get anything out of it. They also have cards with their new Pot of Avarice. When this card is summoned, target 5 in the grave, shuffle them into the deck, draw a card. They have a card that says when this card is summoned, you can special summon another one from your hand or from your grave or send one. They literally have everything. Now, what I'm going to say about this deck. Satellaknights is the best rank 4 toolbox I think there will ever be in any deck ever. This deck has ways to summon cards straight from the hand, straight from the deck, be able to keep hand presence, keep field presence, be able to recycle from the graveyard, and never truly run out of cards. This deck could literally be one of the first decks in a while that could be played at 60 cards and be perfectly fluent, never have bad hands. This deck is going to be great. People were sort of doubting the deck, like We Are Yu-Gi-Oh! And they played it, and he was a little confused with some rulings at first, but he got that worked out and such. But I personally believe that this deck will be amazing. My facts and reasons behind this is, first of all, they do not only have just their own stinking Pot of Avarice, and they have their own pretty much trade-in, discard, draw a card. But they also have the fact that they can constantly be summoning things normally and specially without any flaws. They can completely utilize just the simple card double summon if they wanted to. Summon, double summon, boom, and they've just exploded. They can take anything from their deck and put it in either their hand or their graveyard. They can recycle everything they send to the graveyard back to their deck and their hand and even the field. They're able to maintain that constantly. They're all light, and because they're all light warriors, they're available to almost all of the entire XYZ toolbox except for stinking Key Beetle, which is like so small. You're not going to be able to use those Evil Swarms XYZs or the Key Beetle, but that's not a big deal at all, especially with all the other XYZs that are currently in the game. They are able to make their Constellar card that allows them to say, nope, you don't get to touch me with your spell and traps. They're allowed to make Hecax if they wanted. They're allowed to make the number 82, which is amazing. This deck is so stinking good. I've had all these emotions and feelings building up about this deck, and I just can't hold it back any longer. It's just, this deck is the best XYZ rank 4 toolbox I'm just going to be flat out saying that there will probably ever be. This deck can literally take any single hand with the way the deck is built and the way the cards are turned out, and if you just tech in simple cards like Chain Summoning or Double Summon or Inferno Reckless Summon, stuff like that, and they can completely toolbox anything without any problem. This deck could literally be using one of those rank up cards that says 4 level 4s, and they could make that without problem. It's just, there are few decks out there that can take this, make an entire commit and get a bunch of like level 4s onto the field to XYZ summon, and do so without killing your hand presence. This deck does so, and they add cards back to your hand and let you draw cards, and while you're doing it, you're using cards in your graveyard and on the field, and you're able to keep doing things. They've got their own XYZ that says when he's summoned, you can't stop me from being summoned. They are able to make all of the best toolbox XYZs, and even like just be able to continue getting more and more cards. There are just so many ways, and they keep adding more cards, and this is going to be the best rank 4 deck Konami's ever created. If you want, I'm going to put a link in the description to my other video which explains the majority of the cards. There are some new ones, as I was saying. One that says when this card is summoned, you can target 5, shuffle them in, draw a card, and just other cards. It's just, this deck is super exciting. I'm not going to be building it because it's going to be super hype. If it's all common, I'll build it. What the heck. But I think this deck is going to be so good, and the price of this deck is going to be so high. You're going to need to buy like a whole box of this stuff right away and like pre-order like 12. You're going to be able to sell a bunch. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a high price set because of how good this deck is. There's Genryu, which is good because they've got their own version of Synchro Queen. And you've got the stinking Shadows, which are good, but then they can be stopped. People just aren't caring right now to side against them because they're too worried about the FAP tricks. And so, yeah, I'm going to talk about those two. I just really wanted to say, this is just such a cool deck. Everything about them. Like, when you're, like, playing a deck and you're like, oh man, I'm playing heroes. If only I had this card that would allow me to summon from the grave. Or if only I had a monster that let me do this. They have that. They have every single one of those monsters. The only monster they're missing currently is any kind of, like, Bubble Man. Just special summon because you feel like it, you know? The second they get that card, the deck's done. That deck can win at all times. Everything in their deck can work. The only time that they could ever draw bad is if they're literally running 3 of everything and they draw 3 of the Avarice and like 3 of like the Monster Reborn or something strange. Some really strange combination of only 3 subs. It's just, I honestly think this deck is going to be so great. And it's really, really amazing. Even if your opponent does side in stuff like D-Fissure or Macro or Soul Drain or Mind Drain, all that crap, you're going to be able to continue playing off the cards in your hand, the cards in your graveyard, or the cards on your field. You're not going to have to be shut down just by one card. Like Shadows, you use Macro, and you use D-Fissure, and you use Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, or you use something that like a Super Ball and infuse their cards into your dude. It's just this card is really good because unlike that, they have so many cards that can shut those 2 decks down. And you've got Light Imprisoning Mirror, which is at 3, yes, but you know how easy that's going to be to take out. It's just, I really, really, really strongly think this deck is really good. They've done a really good job in designing it, making all the cards there. It's like a lot of them are only once per turn. That's not a big deal when there's so many, and you're constantly going to be able to go boom, to graveyard, to hand, to field, to summon more cards, XYZs. And this deck, it's going to be so good. Tell me what you think on Satellaknights, especially after all these new cards that have come out, in the little comment section below. Remember to like this video, and in the next greatest YouTuber competition, make sure to like my video when it goes up, because otherwise I can't move on to the next round. Thanks for watching. Yeah.